Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and I know tomorrow is Christmas Day. I hope that you've gotten everything that you needed to get done, and everyone that you needed to take care of. So you have time to watch me check out one of these Eart guitars that I've heard so much about, but I've never had the chance to play or even see in person prior to this one that's in the box right here. This is a viewer request, so I'm just going to be as blatantly honest as possible, whether it's a great guitar, mediocre guitar, or if it ends up being like that Groat that we had. Not a great experience. Without further ado, let's see which model I picked. Alright, straight away, a few things look a little bit different than the picture that I ordered this from, but before we get into that, let's get it on the bench and have a closer look. Alright guys, this is the Eart CP1. The first thing that jumped out to me when I opened this and why I kind of had a funny look on my face was because this color looks nothing like the color that they advertise on the Amazon website. I mean, it's not really the end of the world to me, but I mean, if you were expecting a guitar in a certain kind of finish and it showed up looking like this, I mean, it's pretty not close to that color. This is much more of a salmon pink than kind of the hot pink that is pictured on the website. So I would update the pictures if I was them, unless this is just a one-off where it's just a different kind of shade. All right, onto the guitar itself. We have an HSS, which I think is going to be a lot of fun because that gives us the potential to compare it to the Harley Benton Fusion 3 in a very applicable kind of scenario here, minus the fact that this has 22 stainless steel frets to the Harley Benton's 24. We have the modern 2-point tremolo system here. Look like Graphtec / what Fender uses on their modern kind of styles. That's not actually on there, it's a little bit different from the packing. I do like the knobs on this. They feel kind of heavy and substantial. They're not really cheap plastic knobs. These are kind of cool, like metalish, chromish kind of things. How does this guy feel? Does it move the whole time? A little bit of play in it, but feels like a decent quality component to it. Outside of that, I love guitars that have the truss rod adjustment right here. You don't need to remove the neck or the strings to do that, so that's a really nice added touch. Now in the listing, some of it's not translated great, so I didn't know if this was going to be a feature or not, but it appears this does not have a coil split for the bridge humbucking pickup. I mean, not the end of the world, just in case you were curious about that, it doesn't have that ability. Alright, taking a look at the back, this is pretty standard procedure for a Stratocaster style instrument. You have your belly cut right here. Obviously there is no plate for the neck. This just has the 4 screws recessed inside the body, connecting it to the neck itself. It does have a rather large looking cutaway here for access to the upper frets. We'll see how practical that is in use. It looks like it goes down a little bit further than kind of might be needed. Alright, moving on to the neck here. This is where the second thing is different from the pictures. This is not a painted headstock. If you ordered this guitar hoping it was going to be hot pink with a hot pink matching headstock, oh boy, you would be very disappointed because that is not the case. However, this also has stainless steel frets. Let's see how they feel. That's strange. They don't feel sharp. But the thing that I'm noticing here is they're not all cut off at the same spot. For example, like right here on this fret, they go in a little bit further, whereas on these 2 frets, they're out a little bit more. So they're not all uniform in that aspect. I don't see that very often. We'll have to see how much that affects playability, but as far as, you know, the quality control goes on that front, I mean, that's something that, again, I don't experience that too often, and I feel it in a few places, actually. As far as the roughness of the frets, not so much. They're actually decently smooth, and when you consider that this is an Amazon guitar that you can have at your door within 2 or 3 business days, depending on where you are in the world, you know, that's a really decent standard for $315, which this is currently on sale for. Now let's see if these guys are level. A little high on that fret. But overall here, this is insanely good. As far as the leveling of the frets themselves, these are all very good. So I guess it's a little bit of a trade-off there. That fret's a little high from the G on, but nothing major. Okay, outside of the 2 frets, I think it was this fret, and then one of the frets right around here, this is overall, I'm extremely impressed. The frets on this are really, really uniform in terms of their height in relation to each other. So, great job. Now this neck feels really, really decent. It's not the same kind of satiny sheen that I'm used to from the Fender Japan or even the Harley Bentons. Not saying it's worse than the Harley Benton, but it's definitely a little bit different feeling. This feels a little bit more almost polished, almost like it has a light finish on it. It might have been lost in the translation of the advertisements. You have these tuners that are labeled Technology USA Core Port Seal 2018 Colorado. Not sure about that. We'll have to see in practice how they are. They feel decent. Yeah, feel like a decent ratio. Okay, another one that says Eart made in China standard guitar. Alright guys, this is a first for these videos, but I just want to use the fret guru to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. It's a really close low action here on the E string towards the upper frets, like the 22nd. But as you go in here, this neck bows big time. The gap is gigantic comparatively, which wouldn't be a big deal with the setup. However, once we get back to the top here, as you can see, much closer to the frets. So this guitar definitely needs a truss rod adjustment. It's not the end of the world here, but as far as out of the box playability compared to even the Harley Bentons, I've never had it come that off. Alright, wrapping up my initial thoughts here. I didn't say much about the neck shape. This feels like a little bit beefier than normal modern C. It's a compound radius, which isn't something that I play entirely too often, but I'm not going to have that much trouble adjusting to it when we do the demo section of this. This guitar, the action is pretty high though, so I'm actually going to lower this and kind of get this thing dialed in as best as I can and as quickly as a time period as I can to start playing with it. But outside of that, I mean, I do find it strange that the frets aren't all cut to the same length. I do love that the frets are pretty damn level, and for a $315 guitar, that's really impressive. I'm kind of bummed that it's not exactly as advertised aesthetically, if I'm totally honest with you. Another thing I didn't mention was this guitar weighs 7.84 pounds or 3.42 kilograms. You guys are killing me over in Europe asking me for all those translations. I did it for you this time. You can at least like the video for me putting in that extra little effort. However, that's pretty much it. Now, like I said, I'm going to set this guitar up a little bit. The action is a bit high for my liking, and I want to be able to play this to the best of my ability and get my true impressions of the guitar. But after I'm done with that, you're going to see me playing it through the Mesa Boogie. So, let's get started. Guys, I just wrapped up my quick playthrough of this guitar. I'm going to start off with the positives. The positives are, first of all, this neck. If you like a modern feeling neck in terms of like the actual width and the feel of it, this is a compound radius, so it's natural for this to kind of happen and flatten out as it goes higher up the fretboard, but you don't necessarily want a wizard thin neck. This is a very nice kind of compromise in between in that aspect. The playability of the guitar was pretty good overall. The strongest point to me that surprised me a lot was the clarity and decency of these pickups, especially this humbucker. Obviously, you expect a humbucker to sound really good with gain on it, but it really wanted to make me play classic 90s kind of punk rock riffs like that. It was really good at that, and it was a lot of fun. The single coils were actually also pretty damn decent, and yeah, not a whole lot to complain about when it comes to the actual sounds that came out of this instrument. But there are a few things that need to be mentioned here. The bow on this was so extreme, the neck itself. Normally they say to do small incremental quarter turns, eighth turns even, being conservative depending on the guitar. This one feels like the truss rod was just set at the loosest possible setting when I got it because the bow was that extreme. It took a lot of turning to get this thing to straighten out a little bit, and then obviously that took a lot of time to let it acclimate and then have the wood settle into place afterwards, so it kind of delayed my ability to be able to play this guitar. Is that the end of the world? No, but it's something that should be acknowledged. I did notice the actual frets not all being the same length when I was playing the guitar. It kind of prevented me from doing a little bit more of my slidey stuff when I slide from chord to chord, and a little bit of that funk stuff I kind of strayed away from a little bit just because it didn't feel necessarily bad, but it didn't feel natural. It just felt strange, and that's the best way I'm going to put it. The fact that this guitar needed a little bit more attention as far as the setup and getting this ready so I could actually do the demo goes, that's not the biggest deal. Honestly, you might take that as being a big deal. I would only say that's a problem if you're a new player who is looking up guitars to buy on YouTube. You might get one of these guys because there's so many great reviews of these by YouTubers and think, oh, well, I'm gonna be able to play it out of the box. If you had received this guitar, no chance. And I guess the main feeling I'm taking away from this guitar is it's not a bad guitar. You might be thinking that I don't like this guitar because of all the things that I just said. I think there's a lot of potential with this brand, and there's a few things that need to be kept in mind here. First of all, the internet hype train, as you guys know damn well, once it gets rolling and once money gets involved on the other side of things, it can kind of spiral out of control in that aspect. But this is a newer company. The parts on it are decent enough. I think if they put a little bit more time into the man hours of making sure that the little things and the basic setup was taken care of to a little bit of a higher degree, it wouldn't hurt their cause. I also think you guys got to update your actual pictures that are selling these guitars because, again, not the same guitar I ordered. So rounding this out, this guitar is a little rough around the edges, but the base product is pretty decent. I mean, it's not something that blew me away, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm just being honest with you guys. That's all I can do is share my exact experiences, how I feel about the guitar, and, you know, kind of give you my insight and perspective. If you are interested in seeing me compare this with the Harley Benton Fusion 3 in a tone shootout, leave a like and a comment on the video, but that's all I have for you guys today. Tomorrow is Christmas. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. If it is a holiday that you do celebrate, if it's not, enjoy the peace and quiet, man. It's going to be a pretty relaxing and mellowed out day either way. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow for a brief Christmas video. Take it easy, everybody.